is when we understand what we must do in our lives and motivate ourselves to do it. It is when we align
Good.
our distance and
Good.
actions with what is right beyond our emotions. It is when we have to understanding of why things encore and how our actions or interaction, distance or lack thereof,
Good.
and even
Tensions. Good.
intentions affect ourselves and the world around us.
Good. Clap it up for Miss Jordan. Nice job, man. Good. So those are a lot of big words in there. You did a great job. How old are you, Miss Jordan?
7.
7 years old, and you had the confidence to read that right in front of everybody. Nice job.
I'm gonna be 8 on July 5th.
Oh, well, happy not so almost birthday. All right. So what this paragraph is talking about is just understanding that what we do, right, it doesn't just affect us, right? Self-discipline, we do things because we know we're supposed to do them and they're good for us, right? And having self-control, a lot of the times we think about stuff for us, like brushing our teeth or doing our homework, right? But what we do and our discipline level affects all of the people around us, right? For example, if you guys, how many of you are in online school or have done online school instead of going in person, right? So if you think about it, if you have really good discipline in that online class and you're setting a good example for your team and you're listening to the teacher, focusing on work, you're raising your hand to answer questions, that's gonna motivate the other students to do the same thing, right? If they're your friends and they look up to you as a leader, then they're gonna copy and do the same. But if you're sitting in the online class and you have your screen off, or maybe you're watching YouTube on a separate screen, right? I know that's something that can happen. If you're doing that, it's a bad example for your team. And now your not discipline, your lack of discipline could affect other people too. Does that make sense? So we always want to try to set the example for our teammates, even if they're just our friends, right? Because when our friends do something, we want to copy or do the same thing, right? So we want to make sure we give them something good to copy. All right, next line. Good, Mr. Aiden. Do you think you could read this big paragraph here?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. And let's cut it in half. So we're going to stop at the universe is a part of us. That sentence there is where you're going to stop. And then the next person is going to read in fact. So make sure that you guys are keeping track of where it is so we don't get lost. Go ahead, Mr. Aiden.
When we develop self-awareness, we are able to exercise an important level of influence in our environment and an absolute tool of our destiny. Here, we understand that every word we say, every action we take, even every thought we have creates a ripple effect that touches other people and nature and our whole environment, and we come to understand that we are a part of everything and everything in the universe is part of us.
Good job, Mr. Aiden. Clap it up for Mr. Aiden. Good. All right. So I need somebody to read the next section and then we'll talk about that paragraph. Who can read it? Good. Somebody new. Where is? I think they're having a hard time with their computer. Miss Sophia and Miss Olivia, you guys will have a part to read if you can jump back on. There we go. All right. Miss Sarah, can you read that next part for me? So go ahead and unmute. From in fact till the end of the paragraph.
She said 1 sec.
I can see, thank you. All right, why don't we have somebody else finish this one and then Miss Sarah, you can read the end. Got it? Good, all right, Miss Sophia, go ahead and read from in fact. You see that on there? The middle of the big paragraph.
In fact, there is such a thing called the butterfly effect, which describes how the flapping of a butterfly's wings in the U.S. in combination with certain other specific circumstances can possibly become the origin of a tsunami in China.
Good.
When we have self-awareness, we
understand that we can be an important influence in the world, and we find ways to use our abilities to interact with the universe in the most positive way.
Nice job, Miss Sophia. Clap it up for her. All right, so obviously it's a big long paragraph talking about a lot of different things. Can anybody tell me something that they took away from that paragraph in particular before I explain it? Mr. Aiden, who has got an awesome answer, go ahead and unmute.
So basically, in a nutshell, the paragraph was talking about how there are ripple effects, how and anything that whatever you do, like for every, what Newton says, for every action there is an opposite and positive reaction. And that is what basically happens. So every time that something happens, it causes another thing to happen.
Good answer, man. Nice job. All right, so sorry, I'm just gonna make sure that we're muted so that we can hear. So like Mr. Aiden said, basically what we do affects other people that we don't even understand, right? So we think about discipline and we think about what we do and how it affects us, or maybe even a little bit bigger, how it affects our parents or our siblings or our teachers, right? But when you do something, it could end up affecting the entire world, right? So we talked about self-control last week and having control over our emotions. If we're having a bad day, so we let ourselves say something mean to another person, right? Let's say I told my sister, Miss Tellier, that I didn't like her hair that day or something else that's mean. Now she's going to be in that same mood, right? Because I gave that to her. So now she might go and spread it to her friends. And then if they go and spread something mean to their friends, then it ends up affecting a lot of people. But the opposite of that, right? Even if you're not having the best day, if you have good self-control and awareness that what you do can affect other people, and you decide, right, to still make happy choices and to be kind to the people around you, now your leadership and being, a good leader for your team and choosing to say nice and positive things anyway will affect other people too, right? If Mr. Aiden goes to Miss Sarah and says something super nice like, I love your earrings, or you did a great job in class today, right? Then she's gonna go and spread that to other people. And that could end up affecting hundreds, thousands, or even millions of people. Something nice that you did last week might be affecting somebody in another country right now that you didn't even know. Does that make sense? Good. So it's the little things. Or it also talks about the environment, right? If you have the self-discipline and the self-control to know that what you do out in the environment affects other people, like choosing not to litter, right? Or choosing to take time to do community service and go clean up in the woods. Anybody that's part of Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts, or maybe you even did it for a project, for your black belt project, right? Going out and cleaning in the environment can affect the entire world, right? So next paragraph, who can read it for me? Miss Olivia, go ahead and unmute. The some people paragraph.
Some people develop their self-awareness naturally, but we can always reinforce it by first practicing obedience in order to learn. Next, we must practice self-discipline by doing what is right without any form of supervision. The next step is to control our emotions in all situations, exercising self-control. Following these steps will help us better develop and enhance our self-awareness.
Nice job. Clap it up for Miss Olivia. Good. So obviously what this is talking about is when you're young, right, there's a lot of things that you might need mom or dad's help or your teacher's help to understand, right? Some of you guys are a little bit older, but some of you, Miss Jordan, you're 7, right? And a couple of you might be around that same age. So when you're younger, one of the best ways to have self-awareness is just by knowing that your parents and your teachers, they know what's best and they want what's best for us, right? So by having good obedience and listening and doing what we're supposed to do, or even at your ages, showing self-discipline, like we talked about earlier, knowing that if it's time to brush our teeth, we go and we do it by ourselves, right? Or if we know that it's time to make our bed, we do it by ourselves without our parents having to remind us, right? That's all gonna set you up for healthy habits so that you can be an awesome leader in the future and have that kind of self-awareness when you're a little bit older. Does that make sense? Good. All right, so we have one more paragraph, sentence. Miss Sarah, can you read that for me? The last line in here.
You should probably turn your volume down because sometimes when I speak it's too loud.
A little bit.
Okay, self-awareness is being aware of ourselves and everything around us. It is when our goals match our purpose in life.
Nice job, Miss Sarah. All right, so that's a super easy, quick one. Just knowing that in order to have self-discipline, we need to know what we're working towards, right? So setting a goal and pushing yourselves to get there, right? So if your goal is to become a black belt, we start by going through all of the belts, right? And taking those small steps and goals one at a time to get there. If your goal is to make the environment cleaner and a better place, then when we're younger, we start by just taking care of ourselves, making sure that we don't waste things, making sure that we're not littering, right? So just making sure that we have those goals set to what we're working towards to have good discipline, right? So does anybody have any questions about this or any thoughts? What's something that you learned today or took away from this page here? Mr. Aiden, go ahead, sir.
I developed a more thorough understanding of the ripple effect.
Awesome. I love your wording, Mr. Aiden. Very articulate. Good answer. So self-awareness is just knowing that what we do affects other people, right? The ripple effect, a tiny ripple in the water can end up spreading across an entire pool or even create waves across the ocean, right? It's the same thing for us. Miss Jordan, go ahead, ma'am.
Doing stuff without being told.
Good answer, right? So that's a part of the self-discipline that we talked about a few weeks ago. But when we learn that when we're younger and we have self-discipline by doing what our parents tell us without being reminded, right? Eventually that's going to help us when we're older to be able to handle those things on our own without anybody having to tell us. We know what's right and we do it on our own. Good. Anybody else? Final thoughts? All right. You guys did an awesome job today. So before we end, hold on one second. There we go. All right, so before we end, we are super proud of you guys for doing such an awesome job. Some of you have been here every single week since the start of January through the entire discipline book. And we're proud of every single one of you for pushing yourselves, for having the confidence to raise your hand and read in front of the entire group. That's an awesome accomplishment, right, in and of itself. Do you guys know that public speaking is the #1 fear in America? It's pretty crazy. And you guys are all under the age of raise your hand if you're 7, 8. Raise your hand if you're 9, if you're 10, 11. Mr. Aiden, how old are you, sir?
13.
13, my goodness. So everyone here, 13 or under, and you just read in front of everybody in this group, which is super awesome. I love the confidence. But we do have one special announcement for Mr. Aiden and Miss Jordan for being here every single week since the beginning of January. Congratulations, you guys have officially graduated through level 1 of the life skill training by completing the discipline book. So everyone clap it up for Mr. Aiden and Miss Jordan. We are super proud of you guys, and for everybody else, if you continue to push yourselves and be here as much as possible, then I know you guys can do it next time too. All right, so awesome job today. We're gonna end together as a team. Everybody put your hands in, and we're gonna say, yes, I can on 3. Hands in, hands in. And then next week, we're going to start with our belief book. So make sure that you have it ready to go. Hands in. Yes, I can on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Yes, I can.
Nice job, team. All right, you guys.